Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Lawless, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I do one of the simplest yet complex looking retro hairstyles. It includes the techniques of Hollywood waves and victory rolls. So let's get started. Alright, so we're going to start by prepping the hair with a pre-blow dry. Actually, scratch that. That's not where you start at all. So I actually started by coloring, washing, and cutting this lace wig. The haircut's one of the biggest factors impacting the style, but since you guys will probably not be giving period correct haircuts to achieve these styles, I decided to show you that this can be done on a simple long layer haircut. So, okay, back to the blow dry. Now, if I'm blow drying and ironing, I like to start with a base that's going to give me a soft, sculptable hair with good memory. And since this is a lace wig, I want really good brush glide so I don't ruin the wig as I brush through it. Make sure you have some face framing layers, as getting that nice S-wave around the eye and cheekbones is really difficult to do with a one-length haircut. So then I use a 3/4 inch iron and start with diagonal sections that eventually start creating a semicircle, as you guys can see here. When I wrap the hair around the Marcel, I try to keep the hair as flat as possible, making sure I don't wind up twisting the hair like you would with some of the modern wave techniques. Oh yeah, and here's another tip. It's really important that you get even heat distribution and time under heat exposure on every section, or you'll be really disappointed when you start to brush it out. The waves won't settle into each other nicely, and it'll have a really amateur look that just won't last at all. In this case, I'm using pin curl clips, but really you can use anything that doesn't kink the hair. Here you can see that my sectioning rotates from 45 degrees away from the hairline to curling inward and around the cheekbone and ear area. On this side, we're going to change things up a bit. Since we're going to be adding a victory roll here, we're going to reverse our ironing pattern to roll upward so that our wave pattern settles properly when it comes out of the victory roll. And you'll see what I mean later. It's important that the loose ends of the hair be coming out of the iron on the handle side, not the end of the iron like you'd naturally want to do. The reason behind this is that when the loose hair faces the open end of the iron, our technique tends to slide a little bit, and we end up extending the end of the curl, which breaks the uniformity. This is more difficult, and it's just how I prefer to do it, but feel free to experiment. After I let the hair sit for about 20 minutes, I remove the clips and prep the hair for brushing with a dry texture spray in the root area in any place that we want a little more structure. Normally I would use a hairpiece or foam roll down in the nape area, but I didn't have any, so I just made do by back combing the roots at the nape and then back brushing the rest to create that structure at the base that we need. Here I'm using a really firm hold hairspray to lock in that cushion that we just created. And finally, to contain the mess we just made, I'm going to use a black hairnet to help reduce any of the frizz that we just created. We really want all aspects of this style to be as polished as possible, and this really helps. Now here's where you'll spend most of your practicing hours, the sculpting. This is notoriously the most difficult part for hairdressers, and it was always the most difficult for me. But I've got a few tips that might help make it a little easier for you. So the first tip is to reduce the amount of brushing you do. I see beginners do this all the time while they're brushing, and it really just kills the wave pattern. The more you touch the hair with your oily hands, the more it begins to fall. I like to use low tension, wider toothed tail combs to help shape the hair and concave aluminum clips to help hold the shape. I prefer aluminum just because they don't have the rough molded edges that plastics have that can often catch the hair when putting them in and removing them. You definitely don't want that with this type of style. Now you'll see here I messed up and really struggled getting this section clean, and that's because I was working with the wrong type of hairspray for this step. You really want to use a working spray while shaping and a strong hold to finish. This was actually the only hairspray I brought with me today, so let that be a lesson to you guys. Don't be like me, be prepared and show up with the right tools. Now for the victory roll. So I like to back brush the root a tad so that my pins hold a bit stronger. Then I'll cross my pins at the root and roll into them. This keeps the inside of the roll nice and frizz-free. Working on the face framing hair takes a little bit of eye training, but you can get used to it pretty quick. You'll want to shape this to your client's face shape, yours or your client's. A good rule I use is that if a person has a long face, I typically like to go for a little less height in the front. If someone has a rounder or shorter face shape, I try to go a little higher with that front piece. And if you want to slim a face, bringing that hair a little over the eye and covering the cheekbone, just covering a little larger portion of the face can be a really nice slimming effect. I love covering the eye though, I just think it's such a cool look. Of course, this is subjective, so have fun with it. The devil's in the detail, guys, so spend some time getting rid of as much frizz or stray hairs as you can with your finishing spray. This really elevates the look and pushes it from cool to wow. One thing you want to be aware of though is that, and this is really still difficult for me, is your end control. The ends of the hair are harder to control because they're further away from the head and often people neglect them. Just make sure the ends of the hair are not neglected and so that they settle in with the rest of the hairstyle. And voila, there you have it. I love working with transformative styles like this because you can see a powerful change in people as they get to see themselves in a different light. I hope you guys enjoyed playing with these old hairdressing techniques, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to click the like button. And if you love learning about hair, all things hair, grooming, beauty business related, click subscribe. Until next time, guys, cheers.